Hey, welcome back. So yeah, we're going to look at namespaces here. So you may be wondering, what are namespaces exactly? So let me create a new index file here. I'm going to save that as index.php. I had deleted the other one. All right, so let's imagine for a second you have a function, or let's say you have a few classes. Let's deal with classes. So let's say I have a class called, for some reason, I have a class called book, like so. And then here, if I put another class named book here, I'm bound to get some problems, okay? So let's see that in action. If I do refresh this, so I do get this error that says cannot declare class book because the name already exists. So you might be thinking, okay, this is okay because all you have to do is avoid creating two classes with the same names. But sometimes it so happens that you have a very complex project where you have a lot of class names, and then you include all those class names in your project. But then it turns out that there's a problem you have, and you ask a friend that already has some built-in classes that they used for another project, and you want to use them here. So what you end up doing is this. So you have your project with class book, right? So let's create a new file here. So let's imagine your friend gives you this other file here. Let's save this one. I'll just call this one, yeah, because let's just call it book.php, yeah? Okay, so it turns out your friend also, because his project is also quite big, it turns out he has a class named book as well, like so. So it gives you, I've got these classes you can use, and then you try to import those classes. You're going to say include, and then that file is book.php. Okay, so you include his file so that you can actually use the classes that are in his project as well for your own project. And then when you refresh, you get this problem again. All right, so what do you do? In your case, you may be forced to rename your own functions, your own classes, to something like book mine or book 2 or something like that. That way you get rid of the problem. But then the issue is your classes are no longer descriptive in a way that you actually wanted them. You wanted this class to remain as book because it describes what you are doing with the class. So how do you solve this problem? Well, this is where namespaces come in. So if, for example, you have your own project here, you can create a namespace for this class here. Now let's imagine your friend created a namespace. So I'm just going to say namespace like that. That's how you create a namespace. And then you can call the namespace anything really that you want. I can say app, I don't know, school, whatever describes what book is actually doing in this case. Okay, so let's imagine this is the namespace we create for this. Now if we come back here and refresh, now the error is actually gone because we have changed the namespace of this class compared to the namespace of this one. So they are no longer in the same, they are not regarded as being in the same location anymore, even though they are on the same line. So for example, if I just copy this one, bring it right here, okay, class book, same exact name. Now I'm going to get an error because I'm redeclaring the same class twice. But if I do write another namespace here, I say namespace app, and then I say maybe this one is for the cafe or something, I don't know, something like that. And then if I come back now and refresh, I don't get that error anymore because this class is in a different namespace compared to that one. So think of namespaces as file folders. The same way you can have file folders on your computer, you can have exactly the same file for as long as it's on a different folder. It's in a different folder. It means it's safe to use. Okay, so in this case, for example, let's say I want to use this one right here. So I have to specify which of these I want to actually use. So let me remove this one. I'm just going to call this one book 2 so that we don't get confused, because there's book here and book there. So I want to have a function here. Let me just use the constructor underscore underscore construct, like so. And then all I want to do is so that it can tell me which one it's from. So I'm just going to say echo from app. Let me do that. School. And book. Yeah, that's the one right there. So let me copy this to the other constructor here. And this one is cafe. So let me come back here now, copy this. So if I come here now and try to declare a new, so I'm going to say a is equal to new book, like so. All right, now I'm going to get an error here because where is this? On line 7 we have a problem. Sorry, why did I put this quote here? It should be there for some reason. Okay, so if I refresh now, it's going to tell me class book not found, even though I have imported this thing with books in here, 2 of them actually, but it's saying not found. That's because this namespace right here is not the same namespace as this one that this one is in. So I can't simply call it until I move into this namespace. So instead of moving to that namespace, what I can do is bring the namespace to me. So I can copy this and put this one specifically here and paste, like so. So I'm going to say new app school book. So now it knows exactly which class I am talking about. So if I refresh, it's going to show that it's from app school book, like that. And likewise, I can create a different version of this and say cafe, like so. Okay, refresh. Okay, so now from that one and from the other one. So we have 2 of these now. It would have been better if I had added some break tags over here. I didn't need to concatenate. I could have just added them like so. Let me come back here for a second, refresh. Okay, so now you see that I can instantiate 2 different classes with exactly the same name, only because I am adding a namespace. So this increases the chances that you can have the same exact class in the 2 different or more than that in the same project. Okay, now sometimes you may get tired of using this app school here. So you don't want to do this. You just want to use book, like so. So what I can do instead, let me come down here. I can say use and then move this book, like so, to there, like so. And then I can remove that. So once I do this, then I'm telling it that I want to use this class from here where it is. Okay, then now I can just say new book, like so. So let me come back here and refresh. And you see that nothing has changed. Let me remove this so that we concentrate only on the cafe version. Refresh. There, from cafe. So if I had multiple classes, for example, in here, I could use the same, let's say for example, this one is cafe, right? And then I have another class, let's just say class, oops, what kind of class spelling is that? So if I can say book 3 for some reason, and let me copy this again, paste it in here, and this one is book 3 cafe. Okay, so if I come back here, let's refresh. Oh, I didn't add the code this side. So I want to activate book 3. So they're in the same namespace, right? Then let's put 3 there. Let's see, put this one at C, like so. Let's see what happens. I'm going to refresh. So it doesn't know what book 3 is until I also say use book 3, like so. And then now it's working just fine. But now I have 2 items that are in the same namespace, right? If I don't want to keep writing this for every class I want to use, I can simply use the single like this. Just say use cafe because this is the namespace itself, and then I can use any of these by simply appending the cafe at the beginning like that, like so. So this one is new cafe book. So because sometimes the namespace can be quite long, so let me refresh and you see nothing has changed, no errors here whatsoever. But if I had forgotten those, I just say cafe and then book, then we are going to have a problem. Okay, so you shouldn't forget that, like so. Okay, so there are many ways, many things you can do. You can put several of these in here. You can say cafe to name all of them. Wait, I could do this and say book and then book 3, like so. And then I can do this. Hopefully this works, fingers crossed. Okay, so that's how you do it if you've got many of them that you want to declare like that. So there are many ways to do it. So you can either just put like that, the main location, and then you have to append cafe on each one of these, and it's still going to work out. Okay, so that's how you deal with these issues. Because sometimes, for example, the name here can be quite long. You can put as much as you want here, and then it can become a bit cumbersome to type this all the time. So you can just put that first part here, so that here you just put 2 of them, like the way it was, cafe / book, like that. Okay, so hopefully all that is making some sense. Alrighty then. So if, for example, here where I am, let me change back to cafe, like so. If I want to call this one, because it's not in any namespace, let's see, D, I would simply do it the normal way. And then let me put a constructor here as well, for the sake of explanation. From book, just book 2, like so. Okay, so you see how that works. So if I borrow some classes from somebody and they've got all these namespaces in there, this is all good. Then it means it won't interfere with my own project here, regardless whether the classes are similar or not. Then here, it's important to note that if I remove this namespace and just put it down here, for example, and come back here and refresh the page, I'm going to get an error because namespace declaration must be the first statement. So whether or not you're going to put more namespaces down here, the namespace declaration should be at the very top usually what people do is each class is in a very separate file. So you wouldn't have a class book, another class book in the same file. Usually they separate all these and then they put the namespace declaration at the very top there like that. Okay. And then when you want to use the, let's say you want to use, let me put this back on book just like that. And let me move this cafe book here like so. And remove that. So let me close the others to avoid, yeah, let me do that. So there's a namespace here, which is the main one, right? And then I shift to this namespace for book. And so if I do this, I am talking about this one in both instances and not this one. So let's see here if we can actually check that out, refresh. Cannot use cafe book because the name is already in use. Wait, where is this? On line 14. Oh, I see. So this is what's happening here, because I'm loading this one where another one already exists in here, which has no namespace whatsoever. So then that becomes a problem because now we have a conflict between this one and that one. So cannot use as book is as book because the name is already in use. So you see what's happening here. We have, let me come back here for a second, use cafe book. Okay, so we're grabbing this one, this cafe version of book, and then I come down here. I've declared this one here my own project, right? And then I include this, but then I come down here and I want to use the other one that was provided by a friend, which is inside app cafe book. And it turns out I cannot use it here because I can't use this name because it's like declaring this book inside this space, the main space here. So then we get a conflict. So what you can do to resolve that conflict, so you can say use app cafe book. You can say as John, for example. Literally, you can put any word here. So let me come back here and let's see what happens then. And then as you can see now, things are working out. Okay, this one is reading from book, which is right here, because when we are referring to book, we are referring to the one that's here because we've changed this one to John. So if I want to deal with the other one, I would have to call it John. So this is one advantage of namespaces, is the ability to simply change the name of the class without having to interfere much with your code as it is. So as you can see now, it's coming back to read from app cafe book, and this one is inside this book that is right here. But this one has been changed to John to avoid interference. So I do hope this is kind of making sense to you. We will see an actual project where we use all these things combined. So if it's not really making that much of sense, don't worry about it. Once we do an actual project, you will see how all these things fit together. But just keep in mind that these are just like file folders. So when I do this, for example, I say app cafe book as John, this is like renaming a folder or creating a link or a shortcut to a folder, because once I use John, I'm actually referring to this class right here, which is in there. Okay, so yeah, so I hope that cleared up why we may need to use namespaces. And also, it's very possible, like where I am here, I can create a namespace of my own and say namespace main, for example, something like this. So this now belongs to, all this code is now inside the main, and nothing has changed here, the main namespace. So you can create your own namespace here if you want. You can say app John or something, I don't know. Yeah, that's entirely up to you. So you can have this namespace, which is representing this code right here, but then you can import some other stuff which has other namespaces in them and so on. So as long as you just keep in mind that wherever you start a namespace and then you declare another one, this is a different namespace to this one here. So these are like folders. This is one folder, this is another folder, and still the same folder here, and so on. So usually, like I said, one class belongs to one file, and then you put your own namespace there to avoid getting too confused about what's going on. Okay, so hopefully that was useful in a way, and I will see you in the next video.